Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. In this webinar we're going to be discussing France e-invoicing process, as well as we'll do an introduction about Melasoft and our services as well. I'm joined today by Yavuz, who is our head of SAP. He's responsible for our products and also on the consulting side as well. What's on the agenda for today? So basically, at the start, we're going to have a company introduction, and then we're going to talk about our solutions and services, and then I'm going to be handing it over to Yavuz, and he's going to be talking about the e-invoicing process in France, our own e-invoice solution, and what our project implementation plan would be as well. So yeah, we need to go through the introduction now and the solutions and services. So Melasoft, we're located in Frankfurt. We've been established since 2013. We have offices also in Istanbul and Ankara. We provide solutions and also we offer digital transformation. We have SAP and non-SAP solutions, and we're always sort of expanding in the sector and developing new products as well. So this is just a highlight of our organizational structure at Melasoft. So as you can see, we have SAP products, we have non-SAP products as well. We have research and development and business development. We also have HR, finance and accounting, and marketing and sales. So on this slide, specifically Melasoft have a variety of compliance solutions. So on the screen, you can see what we offer. So this one's about e-invoice. So yeah, we do e-invoice products, we do e-archive, we do VAT reporting and SAFTI. These are quite popular at the moment in Romania. We do e-transport and dispatch. We also do virtual warehouse, e-accounting slip, recycling fee declaration, and FNO 328. So also we operating as a consulting company throughout Europe, and here's a nice little map that shows the countries that we're operating in and offering consulting services as well. So these are like additional SAP solutions that Melasoft do. So we also have SAP GDPR solutions. We have SAP integration solutions. We have SAP financial solutions as well. And it's popular at the moment is smart banking applications as well. In other parts of our business, we do offer fintech solutions, commercial solutions, software development solutions, and blockchain solutions. So as you can see, we operate in a variety of sectors, so SAP and non-SAP. So we have quite a broad business span that we operate in. So here we just go into a little bit more detail about what is in our services at Melasoft. So we have project management team here at Melasoft. We can offer modules and consultancy advice within logistics and finance. We can assist with integration services as well. If you're a company that needs specific applications to be developed, we can also do this. If you want to outsource certain topics within your company, you can outsource it to us. And then if you require certain trainings about certain modules in SAP, we can also offer training as well. So within the SAP project management scope, there's a variety of topics that we do. As you can see, we do SAP implementation projects, SAP migration projects, integration projects, SAP upgrade projects, customization projects, and SAP support projects as well. So we're working throughout the entire life cycle of a project from beginning to end. So At Melasoft, we have like different areas of SAP as well. So the standard modules, MM, SD, EWM, FI, and CO. So we're able to assist them on projects through logistics to finance as well. Here you can see the breakdown of the integration services that we offer. So specifically PIPO, API management, HANA Cloud integration as well, data services and cloud platform integration as well. So specifically for application development, this is important. We have a team of ABAP developers, Fiori developers, UI5, and also HANA developers, in the cloud platform developers as well. So also an aspect of Melasoft is you can outsource the consultancy partners or projects to ourselves. So if it's application outsourcing, you can outsource it to us. Infrastructure, we also offer offshore outsourcing as well. So we're able to assist with projects, not necessarily in Europe, because we have a team in Turkey as well. So yeah, we offer managed services as well, and also we can offshore or outsource, sorry, our own consultants as well. So for the training services as well, we offer end user training. So for instance, if you buy one of our products, we're able to train the users how to use this product. If it's functional aspects or technical trainings as well, we can offer this on a variety of topics as well. So if you're interested at all, you can see our website here, www.melasoft.com, and you can have a little look at our website about the compliance solutions, our sort of functional and technical consultancy as well. Yeah, feel free to look. I believe the next slide we're going to be discussing specifically our France e-invoice solution. So I'll hand it over to Yavuz so he can take you through our e-invoice solution.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you all. As Brett introduced, my name is Yavuz Durdak, and I am the SAP department head at Melasoft. Today, in today's webinar, the main topic is the e-invoicing process in France. And first of all, I will introduce some information, status information about e-invoicing process in France. And then in the next section, I will talk about Melasoft solution for the e-invoicing process. Let's start with the France e-invoicing process. Here we have two general definitions, the e-invoicing and e-reporting, two complementary processes in France. E-invoicing corresponds to the issuance, transmission, and receipt of invoices to the French tax administration in a mandated format. So this mandated format includes some base data in structured format, unstructured format, or mixed format. By structured format, we mean data structured according to the standards that is agreed between the parties. So this is usually an XML structure, and this is the structured format that should be used in e-invoicing process. In addition to this structured format, unstructured form, whose representation is very similar to paper invoices, and most of the time PDF invoices corresponds to this unstructured form. And also we have the mixed format, which corresponds to a combination of structured format and unstructured format. So an XML file together with an PDF file corresponds to the mixed format. During the transition phase in France, all of these formats are allowed, but after the transition phase, structured format will be used as the main format for transmission of e-invoices. In addition to e-invoicing, there is a complementary process which is called e-reporting, which covers the transmission of certain mandated data that are not covered by the e-invoicing process, because the e-invoicing process covers usually the business-to-business and the business-to-government transactions, but there are some transactions that are not within the scope. For instance, the business-to-business transactions for non-French customers, or the business-to-consumer transactions that are taxable transactions, of course, and also purchases from foreign operators, excluding the imports, and finally the payment status of invoices for services. So for these transactions, e-reporting is the main transmission format that is required by the tax authorities. In this slide, you see the legal background in France for the e-invoicing and e-reporting process. The process started in January 2020 with the B2B, B2G e-invoicing process. So business to government transactions become mandatory starting from 1st of January 2020. And the platform, the Kronos Pro platform, is used for this purpose. And then in 2021, with the ordinance number 1190, the mandatory e-invoicing for domestic business-to-business transactions and mandatory e-reporting or transactions for cross-border business-to-business transactions and business-to-consumer transactions are defined with this ordinance. In 2022, with the Article 290 of the French General Tax Code, the transactions are described for non-domestic business-to-business international transactions and the business-to-consumer transactions defined in a more detailed manner. And in the same year, with the Article 26, the new legal framework for e-invoicing is constructed. And the formats for exchanging data with the public invoicing portal is defined with this article. Finally, in the mandatory e-invoicing process will start with 1st of July 2024, and especially starting from this date, receipt of invoices in electronic format will be mandatory. In addition to that, sending e-invoices will be mandatory for large enterprises. We will come to this issue in the following slides for other company types. In this slide, you can see the main stakeholders that are involved in the e-invoicing process in France. These stakeholders are important because we will refer to these definitions during the presentation. We have companies, we have the public invoicing portal, we have registered private platforms, PDPs, and also we have dematerializing operators, the ODs. The companies correspond to the company suppliers, buyers, or their legal representatives, and the public invoicing portal, PPF, is the third-party public offering for e-invoicing and e-reporting process. So this is the main portal that will be used for e-invoicing and e-reporting. In addition to public format, in France, different from most of the countries, there are also registered private platforms, which are called PDPs. These platforms provide services, dematerialization services, especially for invoices registered by the tax authority. They can send invoices to their recipients, and they can transmit data to the PPF, the public invoicing portal. And finally, we have dematerializing operators, the ODs. These operators are similar to registered private platforms, but they provide the same dematerialization services, but they cannot send e-invoices directly to their recipients. In order to send invoices, they should be connected either to the PPF, the public invoicing portal, or the registered private platforms, PDPs. So what is the aim of the reform, e-invoicing reform in France, in terms of these shareholders? First of all, from the company's perspective, both buyers and the suppliers, there will be reduction in invoice processing costs because all of the process will be automated from end to end. Paperwork will be reduced, so there will be reduction in processing costs. Also, there will be reduction in administrative burden of tax management process because tax management issues will be submitted to the government by means of e-invoicing and e-reporting processes. The payment deadlines will be tracked better, and automation and rationalization will be achieved. The customers, the companies, the buyers, and the suppliers will have better access to their processes and their monitors, and also, as a result of all of these processes, the business relations will be improved. From the perspective of dematerializing operators, first of all, as dematerializing operators are allowed in France, it will result in growth of French market for electronic invoicing, and as a result of this, repositioning of new service offers, especially high added value segments, will be improved. So these will be the benefits from this perspective. Finally, from the state perspective, first of all, the VAT declaration will be much more efficient. VAT fraud rates will be decreased because all of the processes will be monitored closely, and also the government will have a better knowledge about the company activities. So the new reform provides advantages for all of the parties involved in the process. In this slide, you see the deadlines for the business-to-business e-invoicing mandate in France. As I said in the previous slide, starting from 1st of July 2024, all companies, regardless of size, must accept, receive e-invoices according to new rules. So starting with this date, all of the companies, whatever the size is, must accept the e-invoices as long as their supplier sends e-invoices. In addition to that, starting from this date, business-to-business e-invoicing and e-reporting will be mandatory for large companies. What do we mean by large companies? If number of employees is greater than 5,000 employees and also the revenue is greater than 1.5 billion euros or annual balance sheet total is greater than 2 billion euros, then the company is considered as a large company. And for starting from this date, these large companies should pass the e-invoicing process. After 6 months, starting from 1st of January 2025, B2P invoicing and e-reporting will be mandatory for ETI and medium-sized companies. The ETI and medium-sized companies corresponds to the companies that have employees smaller than 5,000 and greater than 250 employees, and their revenues between 50 million euros and 1.5 billion euro, or their annual balance sheet total is smaller than 2 billion euros. So these companies should switch to e-invoicing starting from 1st of January 2025. Finally, the other companies, the small companies and micro enterprises, the SMEs and the micro enterprises should pass to e-invoicing process starting from 1st of January 2026. These companies corresponds to the SMEs if they have less than 250 employees and if their revenue is less than 50 million revenue or their annual balance sheet total is smaller than 43 million euros, then they are considered as SMEs. On the other hand, the micro enterprises corresponds to the companies that have less than 10 employees and smaller than 2 million euros revenue and annual balance sheet total. So these are the critical dates in terms of e-invoicing. Now, let's move on to the functional side of the process. In France, a scheme, Y scheme, is used in the e-invoicing and e-reporting process. What does it mean? The Y scheme is used to exchange invoices. The companies have two options in France. The first one is the companies can go through a registered private platform from the government platform. They can use the government platform, or they can use registered private platforms. So they have two options. What is the aim of this system? First of all, the aim of the system is a seamless integration with all of the parties involved in the invoicing process. So some of the companies may already work with some private operators in their current system. So this will reduce their adaptation costs. So they will continue with their registered private platforms. On the other hand, for the companies that do not have such invoicing solution, they can use public invoicing portal, and this will reduce their entry costs. So this Y scheme is advantageous in terms of these two cases. Here we give some more detailed information about the PPF, PDP, and ODs. What was the public invoicing portal? It was the public portal used for e-invoicing process. It will be free of charge. So all of the invoice issuers, recipients, private and public organizations will be able to use the platform free of charge. They can submit, receive, track e-invoices, and they can also submit e-reporting over the public platform. Additionally, the public platform has three alternative modes, which we will discuss in the following slides: portal mode, service mode, and EDI mode. So these three main alternative exchange modes can be used in the public invoicing portal. Additionally, submission of invoices in synthetic formats and receipt of invoicing data will be enabled by the PPF. The second option, the registered private platforms, PDPs, they have similar services like public invoicing portal. They will enable forward e-invoices to their recipients platform in a structured format, in a similar format. They will be able to receive invoices and make them available to their recipients. They will receive and forward mandatory invoice and e-reporting data to the tax authority, because if registered private platforms are used, then the information should be submitted to the tax authorities, so they will have this capability also. They will perform some compliance controls, which will be discussed in the following slides. So this compliance controls should be made also. These PDPs should also support processing status of e-invoices. So the processing status of e-invoices should be tracked over these registered private platforms. Finally, they will provide the public invoicing portal with the information needed to update the directory. A central directory will be used. This directory stores the information about the recipients. Finally, we have dematerializing operators, the ODs. They offer dematerialization services. They extract invoice data, they produce the invoices in the structured format. However, they cannot send e-invoices directly to their recipients, but they must be connected either to the PPF or PDP. So they cannot send invoices directly, but they give dematerialization services to their recipients, to their customers. In this slide, you'll see the alternative cases in the Y scheme. As we said, some of the companies may prefer PDPs, public invoicing portals, or some of the companies can prefer the registered private platforms. So whichever case is selected, the Y scheme provides a seamless integration between the parties. For instance, in this scheme, you can see the supplier 1 takes services from PDP1, private service operator, registered private platform PDP1, and buyer D gets services from the public invoicing portal. So how the invoice will be submitted from supplier 1 to buyer D? For this, first the invoice is submitted by supplier 1 to the PDP, and then PDP sends the invoice to the public invoicing portal, and then public invoicing portal transmits the invoice to the buyer B. So this is the chain. There are 3 alternative chains in this structure. So each of these chain can be used depending on the company's choices. If the public invoicing portal is used, the services will be given by the public invoicing portal. In the other case, registered private platforms will give the same service. As we discussed in one of the previous slides, we have a central directory of invoice recipients. This central directory stores all of the information regarding the invoice recipients, because during the transmission of invoices, the PDPs and the public platform needs to know which platform does the buyer take service. So this information is stored in the central directory, and this directory information should be updated by PDPs and the companies. This is under responsibility of PDPs. So once a new company takes service from a new PDP, then this information should be submitted to the central directory, and the information should be updated accordingly. Otherwise, the invoices may be sent to incorrect addresses. In the system, 4 main data types can be exchanged. The first one is the invoice data, the mandatory data for e-invoicing. We have 2 phases for this. In the first phase, in the phase 1, 24 mandatory data items. These are defined in the government directories. So we have 24 mandatory data items that should be shared in the mandatory invoicing. In phase 2, 8 additional data items will be added. So in total, 32 mandatory data items should be shared over the system. In addition to that, during the transition phase, companies have the option to submit invoices in unstructured PDF format. So in order to cope with inefficiencies and problems, the government has such a decision. So during the transition phase, the PDF invoices are also allowed to share it as the e-invoicing system. In addition to these 2 mandatory data, we have also status data. Status data corresponds to the current status of the invoice throughout the system, throughout its life cycle in the system. This status data should be shared between the parties when the status changes. For instance, when an invoice is submitted to the private platform, then the invoice status should be updated accordingly. When the invoice is accepted by the buyer, then the invoice status should be updated again. So this status data should be always up to date on the system. Finally, we have the e-reporting data. E-reporting data differs according to transaction type. For instance, if it's an international B2B transaction, the information in e-reporting data may change. If it's a B2C transaction, local transaction, then the information changes. So depending on the transaction type, the data contained in the e-reporting data may change. All of these data requirements are also well defined in the government directives. Here you can see the offerings by the public invoicing portal. In the public invoicing portal, provides services in 3 distinct modes: the portal mode, the EDI mode, and the service mode. Portal mode corresponds to can be used by the small enterprises, especially because portal mode is a manual mode. The companies should visit the government portal, should log in the portal, should create and upload the invoice to this portal, and after creation should send the invoice to the corresponding invoice recipient, can track the invoice status over the portal. Additionally, the buyer should log in the portal in order to get and download the invoice received on the portal. So portal mode is a supplementary mode, and it is especially efficient for small companies that have small number of invoices. Then portal mode can be the preferred mode. In addition to portal mode, there are 2 main more efficient modes: the EDI mode and the service mode. EDI corresponds to exchanging of structured business data between the partners. So by using some protocols, the data is exchanged between different systems. So the public invoicing portal has these protocols, has these services. So using these EDI protocols, EDI services, the information can be sent to the portal by using EDI mode. However, remember that EDI mode is not a continuous mode. It is not in real time. So to use the EDI mode, for instance, you can schedule the EDI transmits per hour or at the end of day. So depending on this period defined, you can send the invoice data to the portal, public invoicing portal. API mode, the service mode, is similar to EDI mode. However, it is in real time or nearly real time. In service mode, the government portal provides some API services. So using these API services, the communication between different systems can be achieved in real time. So when you create an invoice, then you can send this invoice to the government portal, public portal in real time by using the corresponding API service. Additionally, you can get the status information about the invoice in real time again. For instance, if you send an invoice and it is rejected by your buyer, then you can see the status information by using the API services in real time. So it is the most efficient way, especially for large companies that process large number of invoices. This mode can be the preferred mode. So each mode has some advantages and disadvantages. So depending on the business requirements, the suitable mode can be selected. In the transmission of invoices, we have an invoice lifecycle starting from invoice creation and ends with the payment process. So during this lifecycle, we have different statuses defined for the invoice. For instance, once an invoice is created and submitted to the platform, the portal, then the invoice status is updated as submitted. When it is issued by the platform, then its status is updated by issued by the platform. So depending on the action achieved by the corresponding stakeholders, the invoice status is updated. So for each stage, starting from preparation and emission, reception, validation, return, and payment stages, all of these stages are well defined, and so the invoice status should be updated by the corresponding party according to these statuses. These statuses, the definitions of this status information is also explained in a detailed manner in the government directives. Additionally, after the creation of invoice, there are certain controls performed by different parties at the e-invoicing and e-reporting system. Depending on the mode, the manual submission, the portal mode, or EDI mode, or API mode, the invoices pass through some controls. These are technical controls, application controls, functional controls, and business controls. In each of these controls, some certain aspect of the invoice is checked. So at the end of the process, an invoice is created that has no errors in terms of standardization, in terms of data content, etc. So during the life cycle, there are several controls that should be performed on the invoice. So in this slide, you can see some example controls. For instance, for technical controls, antivirus control, empty file control, file type and extension control, signature control and verification, data flow uniqueness control, and all of these controls are done. And if some problems are determined, then an error message is sent together with the corresponding result if the control fails. Again, the application controls, the functional controls, and business controls are conducted by the public invoicing portal or the registered private platforms, and corresponding as a result of these controls, the invoice status is updated accordingly. So we come to the Melasoft e-invoicing solution for France. First of all, I will provide some background information and I will describe our solution. In general, as Bradley introduced, our Melasoft e-compliance solutions are currently active in most of the European countries, especially for the e-invoicing process. Our solutions are used many global companies currently in different countries in different parts of the world. In general, our Melasoft e-invoicing solution is an SAP ERP system-based solution. However, as I will be explained in the following slides, we have different alternatives as well. In general, our solution has 5 main components: the outbound cockpit, inbound cockpit, application programs, periodic programs, and custom programs and tables. Our outbound invoice cockpit corresponds to the cockpit that is used for sending all required invoices to the government portal according to government specifications. So, as we explained in the previous part, the e-invoice and e-reports should be created in predefined structured formats. So our cockpit, our solution extracts relevant information from the ERP system, and this information is mapped and the corresponding XML file is created according to government specifications, and this file, the XML file, is sent to the government portal or the public or registered private platforms, depending on the customer's choice. In the same way, the inbound invoice cockpit is used for receiving invoices from the government portal or the registered private platforms. So once new invoices are available, by using our periodic jobs, periodic controls, we check the inbox, and when new invoices are available, then these invoices are transferred to the inbound cockpit. And by using both of these cockpit, you can see the status information of the invoice during its life cycle. So when you send an invoice, till the end of the payment process, you can track the invoice status from the cockpit. This is also correct for the inbound invoice cockpit as well. For the application programs, these are the end-user programs that are used for our solution. We have periodic programs that are used for updating the information, especially new invoice information or invoice status information. These informations are updated by using periodic programs. And finally, we have custom programs and tables. These custom programs and tables are used for customization of our solution for your company's requirements. So to shape our solution according to your company's needs and necessities, we use these customization programs and tables. In each country, and depending on the company's requirements, different architecture requirements may arise. So for this issue, we have different architecture alternatives. For instance, our main SAP solution, our main solution is an SAP add-on solution. However, we can also provide a standalone solution that is compatible with other ERP systems as well. Also, we can have a direct connection with the public invoicing portal or registered private platforms, or we can have a connection over integrators such as CPI, PIPO, or WSO2 layers for connection. So depending on your company's business requirements, we can have the connection over these integrators as well. Additionally, we may have intermediate layer between your ERP system and the government portal and the public invoicing portal and registered private platforms. So we have a gateway solution, and this solution can be used as an intermediate layer between your systems. Additionally, especially for the incoming invoice cases, if you use an invoice management solution, such as Veeam, DMS, or Kepron, or any other solution, then our solution can be integrated with these softwares, with these programs. So the invoice management process can be tracked over the invoice management solutions as well. For the incoming invoice case, automatic posting, semi-automatic posting, and manual posting options are also possible in our solution. Finally, our solution is applicable to companies, multinational companies that have operations in different countries and in different under the name of different company names. So if you are a multinational company and you have a centralized ERP system, then Melasoft solution can be implemented as a single platform, and you can create and share the XML files on our single Melasoft solution as well. Here, you see the general system architecture, high-level design for our outgoing invoices. As I said, we have different alternative connection options, but the main standard flow is like this. First of all, depending on the invoice types, the corresponding XML file is created. The relevant information is extracted from the ERP system, from the relevant modules, and the XML files are created within the SAP environment. And depending on the capabilities provided by the public invoicing portal or the registered private platforms, you can have several operations over our cockpit. For instance, you can monitor the invoice in different formats such as HTML, XML, or PDF formats. You can control, you can check the status of the invoices, you can download the invoice, you can email the invoice, or you can make additional attachments to the invoice. Also, we have an auto attachment option. So in France, attachment is allowed, so you add some attachments to the invoice as well. To connect the government portal, the public invoicing portal, or the registered private platforms, we may have a direct connection, or we may have a connection over the SAP enterprise integrators. So the XML files are sent to the corresponding portal, and status information is tracked over the portal. If the XML files have some errors, then an error message is received, and these messages are transported to the SAP system. However, as I said, we create the XML files according to government specifications, so the file is created correctly starting from the SAP system. We have different architecture options for the outgoing invoices. First of all, we may have a direct connection to the TPF or PDPs, or we may have a gateway solution as in alternative 3 between your SAP system and the government portal or the public or the registered private platforms. In terms of security, this option can be preferred, or we may have a standalone Melasoft solution that is outside your ERP environment. So we communicate with your ERP system by using iDocs, and we get required information from ERP system, and we create the XML file outside the ERP environment. This option is also possible. For the incoming side, as I explained in the previous slides, we have periodic jobs, and by using these periodic jobs, we continuously check the government portal or registered private platforms, and once new invoices are available, these invoices are transferred to the Melasoft inbound cockpit. Over the cockpit, you can make some controls in PDF format, HTML format, or XML format. If the invoice has some attachments, you can view these attachments. Also, you can monitor the status of the invoice. You can download the invoice in different formats, or you can email the invoice to invoice recipients if needed. For this case, of course, we may have some alternative options. As I said before, if you use an invoice management solution, then our Melasoft inbound cockpit can be integrated with this solution. So the incoming invoices are submitted to this system, and its status information can be tracked over this invoice management solution and updated in the public portal or the registered private platform by using the services between vendor invoice management system and our Melasoft inbound cockpit. For the incoming invoices, we have different alternatives as well. Here you can see the gateway solution as an intermediate layer between portals, the private portal and the public portals, and with your ERP system. Again, we may have a standalone solution. So outside the SAP environment, we may also implement this solution based on your business requirements. And finally, we have the multi-country, multi-company case. As I said previously, if you are a global company acting in different countries, then if you have a centralized ERP system, our Melasoft solution, centralized Melasoft solution, single cockpit solution can be used. Depending on the company selected, the corresponding XML file is created according to corresponding countries' specifications and submitted to the tax authorities from this country. So the single cockpit can be implemented. What is the advantage of using a single cockpit in all of the countries? First of all, in terms of operational efficiency, it provides greater benefits. You use the same system, you have the same support options, and also in terms of financial issues, you will have price discounts if you have a multinational implementation. To summarize, in this slide, the key features of our Melasoft solution are summarized. First of all, our main solution, the SAP add-on solution, works within your SAP system, and it is fully under the control of your company. So the security procedures that you apply in your current system, in your ERP system, is also valid for the Melasoft SAP add-on. So in terms of security issues, it is fully under the control of your company and your security team. In our solution, we use a namespace that is specific to Melasoft. So no need to modify your client, the client SAP system. Because we use our namespace, we do not need to touch other SAP standard objects, or our objects do not contradict with other objects of the companies that during the development process, especially during the updates. Because of this different namespace, we do not encounter with any problems, and you can easily update your SAP systems, versions, etc. This provides greater advantages. Also, for incoming and outgoing invoices, we have separate copies. In terms of operational efficiency, this provides greater benefits because you can assign different employees, you can assign different departments to incoming and outgoing side. They are distinct processes. So having two separate copies for both of these processes is an advantage in terms of operations. Also, you can view the invoices in different formats, PDF, XML, HTML formats. So especially for during the sending invoices, you can make final controls over the cockpit. For the incoming invoice side, you can check the invoice in PDF format or HTML format before accepting the invoice. So this provides advantages. Also, you can download these files to your computer. Our solution is a flexible solution. It has the ability to integrate with different systems, including the additional layers, the connection layers, PRPO or CPI layers, or other solutions such as VM, DMS, etc. Also, all of the transactions in our solution can be authorized. So for each transaction, for instance, for sending invoice, you can authorize this transaction to specific employees. So all of the operations can be authorized. The incoming invoices can be directed to the responsible personnel. This is a result of authorization. So the invoices can be directed or sent to the corresponding recipients, even via email or another medium. We have body outputs, so the company will have ability to make improvements by using these body outputs without touching the core objects and significant parts of the program. So you may have developments. Our program, our solution is open to developments, open to customizations further. So it is another advantage. All of the operations are logged in our system. So in case of errors, in case of problems, you can visit historical log reports and to determine the problem. Our solution is adaptable to different systems, and based on your customer business requirements, we may have other architecture options based on your requirements that we do not discuss today. As I said, we have a central solution for multinational companies. And finally, our solution provides operational efficiency and financial benefits compared to other solutions in the market. Here, you can see the general project implementation stages. Of course, these stages may change from country to country, but the main logic is not changed. At the beginning of the project, we make a system analysis of the company. We determine the customizations in order to customize our product, our solution for your company's business requirements, such as invoice type customizations, company code customizations, text code customizations, etc. After these customizations are achieved, then our solution is imported to company SAP system. The controls are made, the developments are completed, and the integrations are done. After the solution is ready, then first we make system tests, integration tests, and finally user acceptance tests are done. Finally, we provide user trainings and also the documentation, the technical documentation and user documentation for using our cockpits and program are also provided at the end of the project. Of course, after the implementation, after go live process, the support and maintenance phase starts. During the support and maintenance phase, if you face with any problem, then our team has support for 7 days, 24 hours based. So in case you face with any problem, we solve the problem immediately. In this slide, you see the general Melasoft e-Invoice cockpit. Here we have application programs, periodic programs, and the customizations. As I said before, the application programs are the main programs that are used for reaching the cockpits. And also we have periodic programs that are used for updating the cockpits with the most recent information, such as status information or new invoices are transferred by using the periodic programs. And we have customizations, which are used for customizing our program according to your company's requirements. Also, we have the outbound cockpit. In the outbound cockpit, the capabilities are explained previously, but let me briefly summarize. If the invoice is created in your SAP system, then the corresponding XML file is automatically triggered, and the XML file is produced and sent to the outbound cockpit. So it's an automatic process. Once you create an invoice, then corresponding XML file is created and sent to the outbound cockpit. Over the cockpit, you can again open the XML file, open the PDF file, or you can make relevant controls, you can make attachments to the invoice, you can add notes to the notes section of the invoice. These are the main capabilities. Of course, based on your requirement, additional capabilities can also be added. After the relevant controls are made, then the invoice can be sent to the government portal, the public invoicing portal, or the registered private platforms over this cockpit. This process can also be automated, so if needed, then we can send all of the created invoices, all of the created XML files directly to the corresponding public invoicing portal or registered private platforms based on your company's choice. After sending the invoice, then by using the status checks, the status information is periodically updated, so you can track the invoice, whether it is accepted, rejected, or other status information. You can view all of this information over the outbound cockpit. Here you see a picture of the inbound cockpit, similar to outbound cockpit. When new invoices arrive to your inbox in public invoicing portal or registered private platforms, these invoices are transferred to this cockpit. Here you can again view the invoice in XML view, in PDF view. If the invoice has some attachments, you can view these attachments also. Again, if some automatic posting or semi-automatic option is selected, preferred, then this is also possible. So the invoice posting can be automated by using our inbound cockpit. So this is the end of our presentation. If you have further questions, if you have further remarks, you can always contact with us from our Melasoft address or from our phones, so we can have more detailed demos. Also, as Bradley said in the previous slides, we are active in most of the European countries. Currently, the process is alive, the live invoicing process in Serbia, Romania, Poland, Finland, France, and the other European countries. We have our solutions that are specifically prepared for these countries. So if you have further questions or remarks about these countries, we can also make demo representations, or we may share documentation regarding these countries as well. Now, if you have further questions or comments, then we can continue with these questions and comments.
Thanks a lot, Yavuz. Yeah, if anyone has any questions now, please type them into the box. I know that we've got some already. So if you're ready, Yavuz, we can fire away in the questions already. Okay.
Okay.
So one of the questions was, does the French e-invoicing process form a common basis for all European Union countries, or will each European Union country have separate e-invoicing processes?
French e-invoicing process is a complicated one, and it is a carefully prepared e-invoicing process, and it has different alternative modes, such as public portal mode, EDI mode, API mode, and different alternative cases, XML formats and other formats are also supported. So from this perspective, it's an example. It's a good example compared to most of the European countries. So if you consider from this perspective, then it's an example case, and it's a sample for the European standard. So it can be used as an example implementation in the European, because currently most of the European countries already passed to the invoicing process, or they are in transition phase. So French case can be used as an example case, and it can be implemented in other countries as well.
Okay, and this one's also a good one. What is the difference between EDI mode and service mode? Like, which one is recommended?
Yes, as I briefly explained during the presentation, both of these modes are supported by the French e-invoicing system, the EDI mode and the API mode, the service mode. Both of these modes can be used for exchanging the business data, the invoice data between the customer and also the government portal or the public or the registered private platforms. So both of them are possible, but they have some differences. EDI mode works based on some schedules. So in EDI mode, you upload the documents, you upload the invoices to the government portal according to a schedule. For instance, you create the invoices during the day, and at the end of the day, you send all of the invoices together in a package and send to the government portal. However, in API mode, again, you share the invoice information, but the difference is in real time. By using the API mode, you can share real-time information for the invoices. Once the invoice is created, for instance, you create an invoice in your SAP system, then the XML file is automatically triggered in our Melasoft cockpit, and once the invoice is available, this can be sent to the government portal in real time. So you do not have to wait, you can send the invoice directly to the government portal. This is the most trivial advantage of API mode. Additionally, for tracking the status information, again, API mode is more advantageous because in real time, you can track the invoice status. So in case you can make these changes immediately. So both of these modes can be preferred, but especially if you are a company that have a high volume of invoice, then API mode can be the preferred mode.
Perfect, thank you. Another one is, can you make attachments to the invoices, such as a scanned paper invoice in France? And does our solution have this capability?
Yes, attachment is not possible in some of the European countries, but in French, attachments are allowed. So together with the XML files, you can add a PDF attachment and send to this invoice together with the XML file to your invoice recipient. Our solution has two modes, the manual mode and also automatic mode. In the manual mode, you can make attachments over the cockpit. So XML file is created and it is available in the outbound cockpit, and you make to add some attachments. For instance, the paper-based invoice, the PDF version of the paper-based invoice, you can add this attachment manually by selecting from your computer. In addition to that, we may automate this process. Once the invoice is created in your SAP system, then the paper-based invoice can automatically add it to the XML file and attach with it and send to your invoice recipient. Of course, attachments provide some flexibility in terms of readability, because once your client receives the XML file and PDF file together with it, then the process can be more accelerated.
Okay, we've got another one. To send invoices, should we use the outbound cockpit all of the time? This could lead to our workload increasing.
It depends on your business requirements. In our standard solution, as a final control, we do not send invoices to the government portal directly, because as a final control, you can open the invoice, the XML file, or in the PDF format, you can open and check the invoice and make a final control. But if this control is not required, then we can arrange the system, we can modify the system and send all of the created invoices directly to the government system. In addition to that, for instance, in some of our clients, for some invoice type, we make this process automatic. For some of other invoice type, this is manual. So depending on your business rules and business regulations, we can make it automatic. So you do not need to visit the outbound cockpit, and all created invoices can be sent to the government portal. But if needed, we can partially do that. For some of invoice types, you can manage. You can send automatically, and for some of them, you can make controls.
Okay, we just do two more now as we're running out of time. Is it possible to make developments on your solution when operational changes occur in our system or changes in our business processes?
Yes, it is possible. As I tried to explain during the presentation, we have body outputs and by using these body outputs, our clients may modify our solution. However, of course, the core objects should not be touched. We prevent this from occurring, but you can make small arrangements, you can make small operational changes, you can make small customizations in our solution. However, if you need a deeper change, if you may want to make a comprehensive change, then as Melasoft team, we are with you and we can go with you during this process, because we may have some problems when you change some core components of our solution. So this may result in more important problems. So we can, if you have these support requirements, you can of course open a support ticket for this, and we can discuss the business requirement and modify the solution accordingly.
And the last one, if some updates and changes occur in the government system or changes in regulations, will you follow them and make relevant adjustments in your solution?
Yes, in the countries that we have solutions, we continuously monitor the government system, the government regulations and rules, and the government portals, because depending on the client's requirements, the supplier and the business side, some operational changes may occur in the system. For example, there may be small changes in the XML structure, or some operational changes in the system, or some new statuses can be added, or some statuses can be eliminated, etc. So we continuously monitor the government portals, and if any change occurs, then this change is done within the scope of support. So this is under our Melasoft guarantee. So we can modify the changes, these business changes in government portal, and update our solution accordingly.
Perfect. Perfect. Thanks a lot, Yavuz. Thanks for explaining everything. Thank you for the comments. Yeah, if anyone has any further questions, you can email us at the email address there, info@melasoft.com. Feel free to visit our website as well, have a look. I hope you all have a nice day, and hopefully we see you again soon.
See you soon. Have a nice day. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, everyone.